Good morning, this is Dennis Miracle, and I'm going to be preparing today, and it's about 6:30 on a Saturday morning. I'm going to be preparing I'm simply calling the W bag, and you will see why shortly. So maybe you can see I have done the initial step one, the outline, which outlines the exterior of the bag and the lines on where to place the zipper. So let me do that right now. I've got a black zipper. Let me make sure it works. It does work. And let me if I place the zipper right between, we have four lines here, the exterior line right here, one line in, another line in, and another line in. So there are four lines in a row. If you'll just take your zipper, assuming it's 1 inch, and place it just between this top line number 1 and the bottom line number 4, it should work out just perfectly. So I'm going to tape this down here at the top, a little piece here in the middle, off to the side, just barely touching, and then another piece outside the area of stitching, the stitch path. So I'm going to take this now to my sewing machine or embroidery machine, and the second step will sew this down for me so it's secured. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and you can see that the sewing has been completed. Now the zipper is secured, and the next thing we will do is turn our hoop over, take our first lining piece of the two, and this is a 6x10 bag, so they will be I cut all of my fabric for a 6x10. I cut that 7x11, and anyhow, I've got this fabric here that's going to be the lining. So put it right side down, and you want to put it in this particular zipper. You can just put the edge of the fabric along this fourth line down, because the stitch path is this third line going through here. That's where it'll be stitched at. So let's get it halfway between each side. And all right, let me tape this down. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now pick up your hoop and let this piece of lining fall over to the front side, and then take this and just fold it over a time or so and tape it down here on the edge of the hoop so it will stay out of the way, because we won't need it for a good while. All right, now we need our first piece of exterior fabric, front fabric, and this is a beautiful fabric, and I've adopted this little saying here right on my Facebook page. It's "Find joy in the simple things." And this is a line of fabric called BEE Inspired by Deb Strain for Moda Fabrics. And I just think it's a beautiful black flowers on, I don't know what color that is, and it's been impossible to find thread, even though I've probably got 500 spools of thread. I cannot find a thread that goes exactly to match it, but I've done the best I can. So anyhow, take the fabric. It looks like it's not, I can't tell there's an exact way for it to be placed. So take it and put it face down, and just put it here along the edge of the zipper. So make sure it's centered in between. All right, so I'm going to take this now to the embroidery machine, and it's going to sew right here, tacking down this front piece and the lining on the back. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and first I turn to the back and make sure that this is tacked down, and you can see that it is, and then turn it over to the front and check and make sure that's tacked down, which you can see it is. And so now you need to take a piece of batting, and I told you before, I cut my fabric for a 6x10 bag. I cut it 7x11. In this one case with this piece of batting, I need it to be a little smaller, so I cut it the same 11 inches wide this way, but I cut it 1 inch less, so it's 6x11. So place it right about 1/4 of an inch under this stitch, the row of stitches here, and fold your fabric, main fabric, back over. Give it a good smoothing, and then on the way over, the next step I run will go right under here, down the side, along the bottom, and up this side. And I want this to have a nice crease here, so let me stop by the iron and particularly pay attention to this area here so it gets a good crease, and we'll lie down and be nice, play nice. So let me do that, and I'll do this next step and be right back. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, it did tack down this piece of fabric all the way around, and now I'm going to be going back to the machine, and it's going to do the placement line for the first applique. Well, the only applique piece. There's only one applique piece, but that's the next thing in line. So let me go and run that, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back, and now you may not be able to see it, but the W now, the placement W has been done, and I'm going to take my, well, I'm not using fabric. I'm going to use a pretty piece of shiny, I hope that'll come out. Let me see if I can get that above there. Okay, this piece of shiny vinyl, and I'm going to tape it down on the sides, because next what I'm going to do is take it to the embroidery machine, and it's going to tack it down, and I will show you what that looks like in a moment. All right, you can see now where the stitches are, and there's a little imperfection in this roll, which I just had noticed, and I luckily got it just above, just on the part I'm going to cut off. So I'm going to be cutting on this side of the vinyl at the stitch line as close as I can get, just like this. So that'll take a minute or two, and I'll do that and be back. Okay, you can see where I've cut off. I cut straight across here, down, up, and straight across over there. I need to maybe get this a little closer because that might not be covered up. But at least if it isn't, it's off to the side, so not terribly noticeable. I didn't touch the bottom part. It needs to stay. You can see where the stitch line is there, so that's fine. That's really pretty. Both this top portion and this bottom portion has quilting, some really pretty quilting, two similar types of quilting, but not exactly the same. And I think I'm going to put it on here. I don't know if that will make it look horrible or what, but I wanted to at least have one of the quiltings on. So I think that's the next step, though I'm not positive. So oh no, it's not the next step. It's going to be the satin stitch. This will be the next step, is satin stitching. So as I recall, right after that, I put this in 2 separate steps in case you didn't want to do both the quilting. So there's a step for this top quilting and a step for this bottom quilting. So anyhow, I'm getting ahead of myself as I usually do and blabbering on. So let me stop this and run and do the satin stitching. Alrighty, I'm back from running the satin stitch, and I'm going to run now, like I said, the quilting on this bottom vinyl part. I may regret it, but I'm going to do it anyhow. So just hold on and I'll be right back. Alrighty, actually I think it's quite pretty. So I'm not disappointed that I did put that on the quilting here on the bottom. So the next thing to do is we're pretty much going to be finishing shortly. Take off this piece of tape here at the top because we need to let our backing fabric just roll to the back, and take off these side pieces and get rid of them. And then pull this down nice and tautly. And then tape it down on the sides. Tape it right here. And also tape it right here. And then go back to your machine and do the next step, which we'll just basically tack this down to make sure it's secure. It will go, it's the same step that basically a duplicate of the step that I did earlier that did this across the top and down sides, across the bottom and up the other side. So anyhow, let's do that and I'll see you back in a moment. All right, I'm back, and that did run the stitches all the way around below the zipper here. Let's see what happens on, yes, it's perfectly fine on the back side too. Okay, the next thing we do is to remove this piece of tape up here, throw it away, open your zipper about, okay, about 3/4 of the way or 2/3 of the way, and let me get the little connectors I made. Where did I put those? Here they are. Okay, I made little connectors. I just cut a strip of, this is the same vinyl. I cut it 3 inches long and 3/4 inches wide, and stick in the little rings here and then staple them on top just to hold them together so it doesn't get away from you while you're sewing. So let me see, I've got that open, which is very important. So take your connectors, I usually put them about 1 inch inside the exterior stitching line here, and just take and find some place to line them up with here. I'd line them up kind of with this line of stitches and tape them down, and tape them also at the bottom there with that metal piece, and do the same for the other one. Let's see, that looks to be about the same. All right, that looks secure. Now take your last piece of or your piece of exterior fabric. This will go on the back. Put it right sides down and make sure you are covering the sides, the bottom, and that you are at least 1/4 inch over the edge of the zipper. And then when you're satisfied with that, take your last piece of batting and just place it directly over that, and take this to your machine, and it will stitch, it'll close the bag up. It will stitch all around right here at the top of the zipper, just below the top of the zipper, and around along the bottom, along the other side. So do that and meet me back here in a moment. Oh, okay. Here on the front, you can see that it's been completely stitched down. Now we're going to turn it over to the back, and we have one piece of fabric left, which is the other piece of lining. Take that piece of lining, place it face down, cover what's already there, but cover, as I said, always at least 1/4 inch above where the zipper's at. Because if you don't, this is what happens. So that's a shame, and I could fix it, and I might later. Anyhow, so now let's on the four corners, tape this down, because this is the last step, and we're okay. Now I'm going to run to the embroidery machine. Well, I'm not really going to run. I'm going to waddle, and so I will be back shortly after I run this last stitch thing, what I'm trying to think of, the last step, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. I've just run the last step, and what it did was it closed out off the back here. However, it did leave a space for your hand to go in to turn the bag, because we will be turning the bag the first of the 2 times right through here. So let's take it out of the hoop. We're done sewing. All right. All right, remove all the tape. Looks like I got all the tape off. All right, what you're going to do, I always turn to this side, and I'm going to start here. Here's this big gap here. I'm going to start here with my scissors. I'm going to go in at an angle and just go about 1/4 inch from the stitch line on the outside of the stitch line, and all the way around, all the way down, and then I'm going to stop here and cut it at an angle like this also. That'll help when we fold those in. That little angle will help hold those pieces in there when we stick them in. So anyhow, don't do anything with the rest of this at the moment. Leave this be at the bottom, and I'll do that and get back with you in a moment. Alrighty, I am back. You can see I did trim it as I said I would. I left these little angles here these 2 pieces will be tucked in a moment. However, and I forgot to show this on the last video, but I've shown it, I think, on everyone but that one. You need to take and cut whatever's remaining here, the vinyl, the exterior fabric, the batting. You need to trim about 1/8 inch from here. Here's the line, the stitch line. You need to trim about 1/8 inch on this side up here, along through here, and get rid of all this junk and just throw it away. So let me go and do that, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I did what I said I was going to do. I cut, well, I could have cut a little bit more, but anyhow, that's fine. It's good enough. It's gonna work out fine. So now what you want to do is turn the bag out through this bottom hole here. And let me try to, we're going to turn it one more time so you don't have to spend a lot of time worrying with these right here, because we are going to turn it. Well, I did it anyhow, so looks pretty good. So next thing you want to do is you want to fold in this shorter. There's always a shorter piece and a longer piece. Fold in the shorter piece. Take this to your ironing board and do this, and give this a press, and then fold this piece in where those sides help to hold it in, those little notches, and when you have it about like this, take this and iron it down, and then immediately go to your, or whenever you get a chance, go to your sewing machine and sew from where this bottom hole is, this bottom area where there isn't any stitching. So right across here about 1/4 inch from the edge, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. All right, I did that. I hope I said while I was telling you to tuck this in and before you stitched it, I always take the iron, I like it to be nice and flat and everything to be creased so it looks good. Funny how some things we're not terribly particular about, then other things drive us nuts, but we all have those. So anyhow, I'm going to take and do some chopping off of all these little pieces of thread we always have, but not at the moment. So the next thing we need to do is get rid of whatever kind of batting or whatever kind of stabilizer you've used. Get rid of it. It needs to be taken off the zipper, and hopefully this will, since I'm just using paper towels, it'll just do what it's doing. Okay. A little bit of pieces up here. All right, well, I could clean on this or do this for the next half hour, I'm sure, but right now I'm going to let that be. Let me throw this away. All righty, now that's done. You might want to remove the rest of this. It's pretty much held down by 2 rows of stitching, but I would, over time, it probably will come and fall off on its own. But anyhow, do that if you'd like. And I hope that was on camera. I was talking about this part right here, this little bit of paper towel right here, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so of paper towel. Just use your seam ripper and get rid of this, I suppose. I don't usually do it because it's held down by the stitches, but I'm repeating myself for the 20th time. So the next thing we need to do is open up as far as you can get open. It's always difficult to, so, well, all right, open up you. Okay, now turn it out. This is our last time turning. We can see the beautiful bag that's been created, and I think it's going to be stunning. But then I say that about every bag. Push out the corners. You can use whatever you have, chopsticks or knitting needles. I have a special gadget made by Floriani just for this purpose, but of course it's never where I can find it. Okay, and remove this tape that we taped down to hold these metal pieces. Alrighty, now take the bag and massage it into place, basically where you want it to be. And let's see. Okay, and take it to your iron, and since this has vinyl on it, I'm going to take a piece of, or maybe a couple pieces of cotton fabric, place over it, because I don't have a specific shield type device to keep it from burning or melting, but put something over this, because this will melt in a heartbeat. And move your iron very fast. Do not let it linger for a second or it will turn to junk. So anyhow, I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you in a moment what it looks like. Alrighty, it is finished, and I think it is beautiful. I'm glad I did put this quilting down here, and even though the thread is not the exact color, I don't think personally it looks too bad. Others may disagree, and that's fine. And then the back is just a regular back. So anyhow, that's that, and I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this today, and because I've certainly enjoyed it. I think it turned out so nicely. And if you buy the pattern and make something, I hope you'll make something beautiful for yourself or your family and friends, loved ones. And join me again, and then probably tomorrow or the next couple days for another design and another video. I've got at least 4 more bags that are ready to be tutorialed, if that's a word, which it's not, but it is now. So anyhow, join me for them, and thank you so much for watching and for buying my patterns. I appreciate more than you can know. And have a great day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.